Hey folks, Steve Rizzo here. We're going to have a wonderful time. You are going to learn how to start each day with an unstoppable attitude to succeed. I'm not bragging. That's a fact. This show will definitely take you to a better place personally and professionally.
Well, our guest, noted author, speaker, development coach, Steve Rizzo. Now, he is a NSA Hall of Famer. Now, in NSA, I think there's around 50,000 people, and there's only around 500 people in the Hall of Fame, something like that. And NSA, we've had a few Hall of Famers. In fact, Jeffrey Hazlett we've had on the show, and Jeffrey got us in touch. I saw Steve at one of Jeffrey's events, and that was where I like, Steve, I got to get you on my show. Steve Rizzo, welcome to Mind Your Business. Thank you for joining me here on 710 WOR.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to see you, too.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Thank you. So, first of all, just we have a lot to cover. You've written 3 books, and they're all about positivity, and that's what we're going to have to get to that in tonight's show. You're also a comedian. You know how to get the crowd going. You talk about your son and your brother, and you have a great story. And at the end of the day, it's all about a positive mindset. Seeing beyond what's in front of you, seeing the bright future. So we have a lot to cover, but let's just get to, the main point that you bring to the table when you speak, when you write. It's about having that positive. How important is it to have a positive mindset? How much of an impact does it have on one's day?
Well, it has a tremendous impact. A positive attitude, an optimistic attitude. It's all a perspective on how you look at life. Some people can take their car breaking down early in the morning and let it ruin their entire day. And, they're not aware that they can shift their mindset, their way of thinking, to turn that challenge into a productive day. Because the more you focus on that little thing that happened to you, the worse things get. And if you notice, when something like that happens to someone, and especially if it starts at the beginning of the day, they can't wait to get to work to tell everybody how their car broke down and how they got screwed again and how this happened to them. And before you know it, they don't realize it. They're going into a bad mood.
And that's such an important aspect. What are some tips? Now, of course, we're going to get to everything that we have to talk about. But just you talking about, you address something that's so critical. What are some tips that you recommend for someone who, let's say, they started off on the wrong foot, they check their phone right away and like, bah!
I think right off the bat, I'd like to give the 3 principles that I live by. And this is what I instill in my clients when I talk to them. And this message is in all of my books. Principle number 1, you need to know without a doubt that you are the creator of your success and happiness, period. Now, what that means is it's not what happens to you that determines how successful or how happy you're going to be. It's what you do about what happens. It's the choices you make, and it's the thoughts you have about the challenge that makes the difference. The second principle is you need to know that you are the only problem that you will ever have. And somewhere within you, there is always a solution waiting to be discovered. We just have to learn how to get out of our way, and it's sometimes be still to allow that solution to reveal itself. The third principle is whenever you're confronted with a challenge or a problem of any kind, it's never a matter of managing the situation. It's always a matter of how you manage your mind. You see, can you manage your mind and those toxic thoughts and beliefs that are the very things that are keeping you from finding the solution that's waiting to be discovered and to live the life that you desire? I believe it's part of the human condition for most people to look for something that's going to happen that day. What is life going to throw at me this day? And I bet you, if all of your listeners right now, and I know that the majority of the people, let's just say they go on vacation and they have a wonderful time. Everything was great, but there was one day when they had an irate person that they had to deal with. Maybe it was a person at the front desk at the hotel or something. And I bet you that story will be the leading story with so much emphasis about their wonderful vacation that they had But then they're going to go, oh, yeah. And then we had this irate person by the front desk, and they can't wait to tell that story. For some reason, it's part of the human condition for people to focus on that type of stuff, which is why I guess the news is so popular. It's nothing but what's going to happen next, that type of thing. And people need to be aware of that.
Right. Be aware of it. Now, from the 3 principles that you shared, a great point, is that sometimes you just have to get out of your own way. Maybe you could just hold on to that. That like to a tremendous degree, if a person's going to be positive or negative, it's them. It's they themselves that could control that outlook.
It's their thought process. The thoughts, it's the way people think. See, the thoughts create the beliefs that you have about anything. See, so your thoughts create your beliefs. And a lot of people have these beliefs and they're not aware of where these beliefs come from. The beliefs you have about anything in your life are formulated over a period of time through a consistent way of thinking. And the beliefs you have about race, religion, the economy, education, the beliefs you have about the people you work with, the beliefs you have about your family, beliefs you have about your neighborhood, all of these beliefs are formulated through a consistent way of thinking. Now, those thoughts and those beliefs, there's a cycle here. Those thoughts and beliefs will create the way that you feel about a particular something. So if you have a mindset and you're going through the day and you keep thinking of all the stuff that's going wrong, and you're saying to yourself, man, why does this happen to me all the time? I just can't get things done. Why does everybody else have what I want? Those thoughts are solidifying an already negative belief system. Those thoughts and beliefs are causing you to feel a certain way. Now, the way that you feel throughout the day is crucial because it's not only a key to your success. A state of feeling good is at the very core of your success because feeling good is the fuel that drives motivation and inspiration. And you can't feel good if you have rampant negative thoughts going through your head the entire time. The number one reason why people consistently fail in business and in life, it's not because of the situation, it's not because of the event itself, it's because somewhere along the way, positive momentum ceases. And the reason why positive momentum ceases is because the individual is focusing all of their energy on what isn't working, not leaving any room in that brain of theirs for positive thoughts to seep through so that they can come up with healthy alternatives and deal with the next challenge that will probably follow moments later. So feeling good is the fuel that drives motivation and inspiration. But everyone needs to know that your feelings are caused by the way that you think. And those thoughts are creating your beliefs. And it's like a cycle and they feed off of each other. So the worse you feel, the more you're inviting more like thoughts to come into play, solidifying an even more intense negative belief system. And all of that leads to the attitude that you have, and that leads to the actions that you take. And that is what separates people who from consistently succeed in life and for those who keep failing, because they don't know that they are the creator of their thoughts. And that's what I mean when I say you're the creator of your life. It really isn't what happens. It's what you do about what happens. It's how you think about what happens.
And Steve, it's such an important point. It's like applying one layer on top of another layer, almost like when they build a bridge and they have that rope, but it's really many thin cables going around and around till it becomes so tight you can't. Yep. And when someone has those thoughts and then they compound it and they pile it on, it just like becomes just impossible to deal with.
Well, and that's true. But the thing that happens is that most people aren't aware that they created that mindset, and they can't understand why their life isn't working. And the more they get into that zone that my life isn't working, the worse life gets, because this stuff compounds and it becomes your personality. And then they start looking around and going, why does everyone else here have what I desire? How come things aren't coming my way? You got to shift your way of thinking. You've got to stop and think about what you're thinking day in and day out. And you have to become aware that you're doing it. So at some point during the day, if you're saying, man, why I'm feeling so anxious, what is this? And you can stop and go, well, wow, of course I'm anxious. I was just thinking this and I was thinking that. I have a business meeting to go to. It's my It's my little girl's birthday today. It's my anniversary today. What are going to be the consequences if I take this to my next business meeting or to my daughter's birthday? And then you just have to gradually, that's an awareness. Now you know that you're creating the way that you're feeling. And now you got to gradually start shifting your focus and your way of thinking to what's working in your life rather than fixating what isn't working, and bless the things that life has given you rather than cursing what life is currently throwing at you. And we all have the power to do that.
My guest, Steve Rizzo, and tonight's show, the title, Good Vibes Only, The Power of Positive Thinking. And after the break, we're going to talk about his new book, Conversations with Bob. His previous release, Motivate This. Just listen to the title. The title itself, How to Start Each Day with an Unstoppable Attitude to Succeed, regardless of your circumstances. Just the title alone is so motivating.
Yeah. And this is the new book.
Yes.
Conversations with Bob, a timeless, entertaining dialogue for living an extraordinary life. Yeah.
Incredible. We're going to get to that after the break. By the way, what's the website where people could find out more information about your releases and to possibly hire you for your,
well, there's two. My website is www.steverizzo.com, RIZZO.com. And the website for Conversations with Bob is yourinnerbob.com, yourinnerbob.com.
Our incredible guest, NSA Hall of Famer. For those that are in the corporate world, they understand the NSA Hall of Famer is a very unique individual, someone that knows how to wow audiences. And Steve, I think you have to have presented by at least 1,000 or something like that. I mean, the benchmark is quite high, and you have to be voted by like hundreds of people to get in. Well,
it's very few. There are very few people that are inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame. I think it's only not even 500. I think you said 500. I think it's like a little over 300 since 1977. And it is an honor. I was very very excited when they told me I was going to be honored with the award. And it's pretty cool because you're accepting the award in front of thousands of people and your peers, and it's a good feeling. But the thing that went through my mind when I got it is not the award itself. It wasn't my ego. It was my spirit was soaring because it was what I went through to get there. It was the journey that I feel blessed with. I did stand-up comedy for 25 years.
That's right.
And I headlined comedy clubs and theaters throughout the country. I had my own Showtime special. And at the pinnacle of my career, I had this calling to do something else, to make more of an impact on society. And it was a scary move to make. I left stand-up to become a speaker, a personal development speaker. And I was so, there were times when I said, am I doing the right thing? But in time, when I realized that I was a spark that could ignite change in people's lives, it just, it was an overwhelming feeling, and I just knew I did the right thing. And as they were introducing my name to come up and get my reward, that's the stuff. It was like a videotape was going through my head like, yes, I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing.
Incredible.
That was pretty cool.
So now let's talk about your new book, Conversations with Bob. How did that come about? How many years were you working on that release? And then, of course, we're going to talk about Attitude of Gratitude. Oh, how I love it.
Well, Conversation with Bob, I started writing that at a very low point in my life. It was after a 34-year divorce that I initiated. And it was heart-wrenching because my wife, a wonderful person. I'm not going to get into particulars, but I learned something from that throughout time, that sometimes doing the right thing could be the most painful thing you can possibly do. So I just noticed things weren't right with me, and I said, I have to get away. And I left my home on Long Island and I moved to Marina del Rey, California. And I stayed there for 2 years to face what was bothering me and the stuff that I was going through internally. And it was one particular day, I was walking on the beach at about 4:30 in the morning after my workout at a gym, and I started yelling at God. I started yelling at God. Why is this happening to me? And I'm going on and on. And I actually believe at that point, I know this is a personal thing to say, but I actually believe that I went out of my mind on that beach at 4:30 in the morning. I think if anyone would have heard me, they would have dialed 911. But I just was just so angry at myself and so hurt for what I was doing. And after I calmed down, I took a step and I said, what am I doing here? And what is wrong with me? And I took another step and I heard something within me say, you know why you're here and you know what's wrong. You're just too caught up in your own drama to find the answer. And I went, whoa. And I knew I was talking to a higher part of myself. I was talking to the God part of myself. I knew it. And I took another step and I asked another question and an answer came. Then I took another step and then an answer came. And I'm all, well, I get into my car, I drive to my apartment, I take out my laptop, I took up my pen and pad, and I'm asking another question, and another answer was coming immediately. Trust me when I say I was there for hours, and I was exhausted. I took a break, I slept for about 8 or 9 hours, and I woke up, and I looked at my computer to see what I wrote, and I don't remember writing 90% of what I wrote. I was in a zone. And I kept asking questions and more stuff started happening. And after a couple of days, something else clicked. And I said, wow, I'm writing a book here. That's when my imagination kicked in, right? And that's when my sense of humor kicked in. And I started writing this book, and it's called Conversations with Bob. And it's a conversation between two people, Bob and Bernie. And everybody has an inner Bob and an inner Bernie within them. Our responsibility is to make sure that we're connecting with the right entity that's within us, and that's Bob. And Bernie resides in the negative zone, where problems get blown out of proportion and challenges turn into emotional havoc. I'm not going to tell you how they meet and how Bob gets his name, but it's funny. The reviews on Amazon are off the charts, and the emails that I get from people. So Bob gives Bernie what he calls common sense success strategies to turn his life around. You know, how and what he was doing wrong, which is why he was always going 2 steps up and 5 steps back. And there's a point in the book where Bob says to Bernie says to Bob when they first meet, well, you never answered my prayers. I prayed, why didn't you answer my prayers? And Bob looks at him and says, I did, but you pray with the same woe is me attitude that you have about life. And yet you expect a miracle. And Bernie says, oh, of course I expect a miracle. Isn't that your job? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? And he goes, Bernie, have you ever heard the saying, God helps those who help themselves? And he said, I heard it my whole life. He goes, apparently you don't know what it means. It means that you have to meet me halfway. If you're going to pray for success, you have to do the right thing to achieve that success. You can't pray for peace of mind, then get in traffic and start cursing at everybody in traffic. You can't pray for success and pray for something to happen. Then after a week, if it doesn't come your way, you say, I knew this was going to be happening. Why doesn't everything? I knew this prayer wasn't going to work. I knew my prayer wasn't going to be answered. And that's one of the lessons. You have to meet God halfway. And when you do, that's when miracles start happening.
Now, in the book, Attitude of Gratitude. Now, in the first section of the show, we did spend some time on that. So perhaps you just want to add a point on that, because I'll go to other questions. But again, the critical aspect of having an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. The best way to put this is that the attitude that we have throughout the day, we usually start off early in the morning with that attitude. And people don't realize that. So as soon as you open up your eyes to greet the day, you enter into consciousness. And it is at that moment that your creativity is at its most powerful. When you open up your eyes, you have an incredible opportunity before you take the covers off to steer your thoughts and your emotions in the direction that you want them to go, and not in the way your mind is telling you to go. In other words, you could really choose to seize the day, or you could let the day seize you. I think we can all agree. Too many people today are starting their days off in low moods at best. And you know what the scary thing is? They're not even aware of what they're doing to themselves. And this is what Bob is explaining to Bernie. They're not aware of what they're doing to themselves. Why? Because as soon as they open up their eyes, they start focusing on the grueling day they had the day before, all the fires that won't put out, the irate people that they had to deal with, the thing that never worked out in their lives. It's amazing what we do to ourselves. It has become a part of their personality, and they take that attitude to work with them. Now, your energy level's got to be cranked when you want to start your day. It's not going to be cranked if you're focusing on stuff that's bringing you down. And most people have a tendency to do that day in and day out.
We're speaking with Steve Rizzo, NSA Hall of Famer. His new release, Conversations with Bob, that's his new release. And of course, there are many. He has a total of 3 books. His previous one was Motivate This, How to Start Each Day with an Unstoppable Attitude to Succeed, regardless of your circumstances. They're available, of course, on Amazon or in bookstores nationwide. Steve, before we go to commercial break, how could people find out more and to get in touch with you?
More about me, go to my website, steverizzo.com, www.steverizzo.com. If you're interested in conversations with Bob, and I don't see why you shouldn't be, yourinnerbob.com, www.yourinnerbob.com. I got excerpts from the chapter. I got video clips in there. It's a really cool website. You can have fun on that website.
We're going to take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. And we're back. Mind Your Business with Yitzchok Saftlas right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. And a special shout out to all those watching us on YouTube. I can't say you're going to have anything that you're going to disagree with, Steve, but speak up. Put your comments in the section area below. We'd love to hear it. Hey, Steve may respond to you. He's an NSA Hall of Famer. That'll be pretty cool. But we'd love to hear from you. And again, feel free to share your comments in the section below on YouTube for those that are watching this incredible episode. And for those that are tuned in and listening, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you're automatically notified every single time an episode goes live. On YouTube, we're at 710 WOR Mind Your Business. And click on the subscribe button, and you'll automatically be notified. Well, we're here with Steve Rizzo. Steve, you've been talking about, and of course, when you explain it so well, when you think about it, if you start off the day on the wrong foot, it's just like, oh man, it goes downhill from there, and one thing feeds on the next, everything you've been talking about at the beginning of the show. But on this show, we also like to provide practical solutions so we understand the problem. How do we deal with it? What are some of the suggestions you have to say that, hey, you start off right?
Well, to start your day with an unstoppable attitude,
yes,
regardless of your circumstances, I ask people to get their shift together. And what I mean by that is that this is a few-step process. That's what it is. When you wake up in the morning before you take the covers off, first of all, don't think about everything that needs to be done on that day. The first thing you got to do is say to yourself, who do I have to be in order to get it done? And that's when you start the process of creating that mindset that will enable you to be the best that you can possibly be, to connect with that higher part of yourself, knowing that no matter what life throws at me, whatever challenge it is, there's something within me that can meet that challenge head on. And the way you do that is, before you take the covers off, rather than focusing on what isn't working and all that stuff, shift your focus and your way of thinking to what is working. To the things that bring you joy, to the things that will put a smile on your face, to the things that will gradually make you feel better. What I'm asking people to do here, and I know they've heard it before, but trust me when I say, if you start your day every day with this for a month, you will be creating a new habit. I'm asking you to create an attitude of gratitude. And I don't care who or what it is. Before you take the covers off now, maybe you're thinking of your children, your grandchildren, the dog lying by the side of the bed. Maybe it's the bird singing at the window, a wonderful neighborhood that you live in. Maybe somebody did something nice for you a few days ago, or you did something nice. Maybe it's the wonderful job that you have. There isn't a person listening right now that can't think of something that they appreciate and what they're grateful for, regardless of what they're going through. And all I'm asking you to do is to focus on that rather than the stuff that isn't working. Notice the difference when you're getting out of bed. Someone said to me in one of my workshops, well, that's easier said than done. Well, everything in life is easier said than done, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. And you owe it to yourself. Just take a couple of minutes, everyone right now. Think of your responsibility on any given day. Think of the things that need to be done. Your energy level has to be cranked. It has to be up here. That's your choice and your responsibility. We go through the course of our lives. Most of us do. And this is another thing that Bob explains to Bernie in the book, this whole process that I'm explaining to you. We go through the course of our lives and we allow people, situations, and circumstances to literally suck the energy right out of us because we don't know. We have these innate common sense success strategies that can help us to turn our lives around to live a healthier, more fruitful life.
Wow. So important. By the way, for those, I'm going to get a lot of feedback from this show, and a lot of people are going to ask, how do I listen to it? How can I? It's up on the archive, but if you go to our channel, mybradio.com, that's where we have all the shows that have appeared here on this incredible program. And of course, it's going to be up on YouTube, and I would love to hear I would love to see your comments, and please comment on that. And again, on YouTube, we're at 710 WOR Mind Your Business. Steve, moving along, there's many business people in the audience of this show. Again, it's about mind your business. Now, goal setting. Goal setting is something that is critical in the world of business. You have to set goals. You have to meet deadlines. But you've spoken about it in your books and when you lecture. Enjoy the process. Meaning, don't look at it as like something that like, oh man, that goal. No. Enjoy the process. Can you explain? You have a great presentation on that.
Yeah, well, it's something that's especially in this country. People create a mindset. They create a mindset where they say to themselves, I'll enjoy myself when I achieve the goal. I'll enjoy myself when I get to where I want to go. And by doing that, you're cheating yourself because it's the journey towards the goal is where your life unfolds. As a matter of fact, the journey should be your goal. It's a step-by-step process. The journey should be the goal. And if you heard me say earlier, feeling good is the fuel that drives motivation and inspiration, but enjoyment kicks motivation and inspiration into high gear. But unfortunately today, enjoyment is something that most people leave by the wayside, especially when change is taking place. They're setting out to achieve new goals. Things aren't going the way that they want. That's when self-doubt, overwhelm, fear can become very dangerous mindsets. And without people realizing it, enjoying yourself becomes secondary at a time when it has to become primary. Studies have shown that people who make a conscious choice, and it is a choice, to enjoy themselves during the process of whatever it is they're trying to achieve are more creative, they're more productive, they're able to bounce back faster from life's challenges, and able to find solutions to problems a lot quicker. Having said that, I would wager any amount of money that most, if not all of the people that are listening right now, when they're writing out their plans and their goals for the future, short-term, long-term, or even thinking of a list of things that need to be done on any given day, nowhere on those lists do they ever include enjoying myself. And that totally blows me away. Instead, they create these dangerous mindsets. And they say things like this to themselves. How do you expect me to enjoy myself when things aren't going the way that they want? When I get the respect and appreciation that I deserve, and when I get the things that I want, when I achieve the goal, that's when I'm going to enjoy myself. And I'm not going to do it 1 minute sooner. I'll show me a thing or two. When they do that, they have no idea that they're putting their happiness on hold. They're actually convincing themselves that their happiness is dependent upon something that has to take place at some point in the future. That's insane. It's insane because it'll never happen. Happiness will always be steps ahead of them. And it's the biggest disease in this country, especially in the workplace, is unhappiness. That's why there's so many books on. You can go to any bookstore. You can go to Amazon. All these self-help books that are about happiness. And it's really the easiest thing in the world to do. But the more you focus on your lack, the worse your life is going to get. And I always tell people, there was not too long ago, I was speaking for a group of CEOs, and I know these guys were multimillionaires, and some of them were billionaires. And I said, here's the bottom line. I said, everyone could look at you as the ultimate success story. You could own houses all over the country and parts of the world. Everyone could just look at you in awe. But here's the bottom line. If you're not happy, you're not successful. And if you're not enjoying yourself during the process of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you're ripping yourself off. And trust me, there are enough people out there willing to do that for you.
I remember that line. Steve Rizzo, NSA Hall of Fame speaker. He just came out with his recent release, Conversations with Bob. Steve, how could people find out more information and to get in touch with you?
Well, go to my website, www.steverizzo.com. You can go to my YouTube channel there. I have so many different things there that you could just check out. It's a fun website to navigate. And if you want to purchase Conversations with Bob, go to yourinnerbob.com. I have videos there that you could listen to. I have excerpts from the chapters that you could read, short things you can get an idea of what it's about. Read the reviews on Amazon, incredible reviews. So, that's how they can get a hold of me.
Steve Rizzo, Hall of Fame speaker. Steve, speak up. All good?
Everything's great. I'm fine.
It's amazing doing this show with you. It's been a while, and a special thank you to Jeffrey Hazlett, who got us in touch. Again, we have to have an attitude of gratitude. Got to make sure to thank those that have, thank those that make things happen. And Jeffrey's one of those people that make things happen. Steve Rizzo, NSA Hall of Fame speaker. He has 3 releases. You just Steve Rizzo, and you just go to Google, and you could find his books, of course, in bookstores nationwide and on Amazon. In his new release, there is a and you've spoken about this, and this is just really I'm enjoying having the opportunity to ask you this question because you're a comedian. You've been doing stand-up comedy. You've been out there for many decades. You've performed with the leading superstars out there. And you have a saying, unleash the power of your humor being. Not human being, humor being. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's one of the points in the book where Bob is trying to convey to Bernie, you got to lighten up, unleash the power of your humor being. And Bernie asked Bob, what is that all about? And Bob explains it to him. But, I coined that phrase many years ago. When I was doing stand-up comedy, this was one of the points that led me to leave stand-up because I knew there was something more profound that I needed to be doing with my life. Although I love making people laugh, and I do during my talks. But there were times when I was on stage, even in the middle of me making people laugh, and I'm looking out and it's sold out, people are standing room only, and I'm saying, wow, look at this. This is unbelievable. I said to some of these people in this audience are experiencing really challenging times. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're having financial difficulties. Maybe they or a loved one are inflicted with some kind of illness. But for this hour that I am on this platform, their problems, their challenges, whatever they are, they're not owning them. Why? Because they're simply allowing themselves to take time out to laugh. Laughter is the pit stop in the rat race of life, and that it gives you enough emotional fuel and repairs to get back into the race again. But the initiative and the proficiency by which we allow ourselves to laugh comes from what I call your humor being. Your humor being is of your higher nature. It's the part of you that brings out the best in you, especially when times get tough. I think it's one of the greatest gifts that God ever gave us. The unfortunate thing is that most people don't use it enough. It's like that state of feeling good and enjoying yourself when people have that mindset like, well, give me something to be happy about and then I'll enjoy myself. Or give me something to feel good about, then I'll feel good. Well, give me something to laugh about. Life is out there, folks. We all need that humor break. We all need that time because it really is the pit stop in the rat race of life. And it really does give you that emotional fuel to continue. Sometimes a couple of seconds is all you need to catch your second wind. Laughter gives you that couple of seconds over and over again. The more you make that promise to yourself to find the laughter within you and around you throughout the day, the more your humor being becomes a part of who you are. And what a wonderful thing to teach your children, your grandchildren. Kids need to know from the get-go that life is going to be tough. It's going to be difficult, but there's always time out for laughter. There's always room for laughter. And they should learn. There should be classes. I think students should learn at the early age that there's always time to laugh off the fear. That's what laughter helps you to do. Mark Twain said it best. Not even fear can stand against the assault of laughter. And it's true. And unfortunately today, we have become so politically correct that we're stifling our laughter genes and our humor genes. We really are. And people need to know there's a difference between laughing at something that's very serious and allowing yourself to laugh off the fear and the negative connotation that represents the subject matter. People don't get that.
Very well put. Very well put. As a NSA Hall of Fame speaker, so I just have to ask, is there an art or a art of science to the fact that you open with a joke or open with something when you're on stage?
Yeah, there is. There's a whole methodology behind that. And there's a reasoning. Because nothing makes people feel more comfortable than someone that's up on that stage making them laugh. You trust them immediately. I could actually see people are sitting. It could be, I've spoken for 10,000 people sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's 200, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 20. Okay. Depends on what I'm doing. Right. And you could tell some people are a little uneasy. But when I go up there and I'm talking to maybe my first 5 to 10 minutes, I'm doing nothing but making them laugh. You can actually see them going, now they're in their chairs and they're relaxed. It's like I don't like to use this term, but it's like I own them now. I have them. Why? Because they trust me. They like me. I'm a person that made them laugh. You always like someone that can make you laugh. People always want to be around laughter. So once I know that I have them, then I hit them with my strategies on how to turn their life around, how to become empowered, how to look at obstacles as opportunities. It's not some Pollyanna stuff that somebody's throwing at them. It's they trust you. And then there's more laughter. And some of my stories, my anecdotes, there's a story that might have a little bit of laughter in it, and I go back into the message again. So they don't feel like they're being preached.
A great point that you addressed is that you notice that, let's say, certain people in the crowd, when you get started, they're kind of tense. And they're all tense. And then as one joke and then a little humor and a little light. And then suddenly you see them their shoulders come down, they loosen up, they're open, they're starting to laugh.
And there's another thing, too. Here's another thing. The other point that's just as important. The attention span of the average audience today is very minimal.
Right.
And unless a speaker has some kind of entertaining, you see how energetic you are when you get in front of that microphone?
Thank you.
I love that. That's entertainment. That grabs people. You're not going up there going, oh boy, how is everybody doing today? Remember that droopy dog cartoon? Oh, we're going to have so much fun. You're not doing that. People if you run the risk, our attention span today is so minimal. A speaker has to be careful because you run the risk of losing their attention within the first 3 minutes you're up there. So that's why humor grabs them all the time.
By the way, just before, and we're running low on time, and it's just like the time flies when I'm with Steve Rizzo. Steve, just a quick suggestion that you may have. When someone wakes up in the morning, should they look at their smartphone or not?
No. And you know why? That's such a great question. It's ridiculous. Because remember what I said about the people that wake up in the morning and they're just focusing on the fires that weren't put out the day before, the traffic jam that they're going to be in, all the irate people that they had to deal with, and the people are going to have to meet today. Then they didn't even take the covers off again, and all that stuff that has to be done on that day. Then they go over on their nightstand and they grab their iPhone or some other apparatus. And what do? They start looking at all of the messages that they think need to be answered before they even leave the house. Compounding that with all the stuff that they know that has to be done and all the stuff that didn't work the day before, they can't understand why they're going to work. After 3 cups of coffee, their energy level is down near. Remember what I said earlier? It has to be up here. That's your choice and your responsibility. And some people do start their day off with that droopy dog. Oh boy, and I got to answer this one, and now I got to go to work, and I got to take a shower. Everything is a job to them. can't even enjoy my coffee. It's amazing what the human condition does to themselves.
Now, Steve, we have around 3 minutes left. And of course, this is a theme that you've been talking about the entire show. But here's your quote. You become what you think about day in and day out.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact. It's what the most important lesson I learned in my entire life. And trust me when I say, my friend, that I learned it the hard way. It's what truly successful, happy, optimistic people know about life. They know without a doubt that they become what they think about. They have a profound way of knowing that the thoughts that they have about any challenge in their life will ultimately determine the quality of success and happiness they're going to have in regards to that challenge. Contrary to what most people think, and I mean this, it's not the situation, it's not the event, it's not the circumstance that takes place in our lives that will determine our quality of life. It's how we think about these things. And it's like I said earlier, it's because those thoughts will create the beliefs you have about it, and your beliefs write the story of your life.
Incredible. Steve, before I let you go, how could people find out more information and to get in touch with you?
They can knock on my door. I live not too far. They could go to my website, www.steverizzo.com. A lot of great stuff there. My books are on there, and you can look at my YouTube channel. You can go to my podcast, which is another thing we didn't even talk about. My podcast is Hey, I'm Talking Here. It's every other Thursday. It's going to be on next Thursday. It's a great podcast. It's funny. It's a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. And you can also go to my other website, yourinnerbob.com, where you can order my book, Conversations with Bob.
And by the way, before we end, it's talking with an NSA Hall of Famer is always so exciting. What is some of the most exotic or remote places in the world that you've ever performed?
I would have to say China. China was pretty could. Wow. When I was in Macau, China, and there was so many wonderful people there. It was a big event, some really big named speakers. And it wasn't so much that it was China, it was the people that I was with, and just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people.
How does it work? There's a translator? How does that work?
Well, you know what? Yeah, they did. They had a translator. When I did the $1 Million Roundtable in Las Vegas, there were over 10,000 people in the audience. And 50% of the audience were from different countries all over the place. France, Portugal. I mean, they were everywhere.
So how does that work?
I did very well because they got what I was saying. The only thing I was concerned about is that how could you interpret humor? They had these interpreters because they had headphones on, right. And how is this guy going to, if I'm doing an Archie Bunker impression, oh, geez, help me, Lord, dear. How are they going to interpret that to the people? But they did it, and they were laughing their butts off.
Wow.
Pretty funny.
Amazing. That's amazing. Well, this wraps up an incredible edition of Mind Your Business. What a treat. Steve Rizzo here on 710 WOR. Tune in again next Sunday night for another great edition of Mind Your Business right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. Have a successful week. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel and be notified every single time a new video goes live. Don't miss out on any of the weekly interviews that I have with top business leaders, sometimes Fortune 500 executives. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications.